Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is a new world, and I am not at the station. I am at my home, and I have my great guest, and she's at her home, I hope. Hello, yes. Leah Hope Becker. How are you?
I'm okay. It is different.
I guess we're ready for anything, aren't we, Leah? This has been a very trying time for everybody, our listeners, we, and so many people. So how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, and I was thinking of something good I could say to start
something
this
good
off.
You could say. Well, you wrote it in all your books. Yeah, I was thinking about you, and I was going to ask you first off. So tell me, are you still thin? Did the book work?
Oh, the book. I'm doing essays now.
You're doing essays. What does that mean? You're not doing books anymore. You're doing essays.
A new publisher, and I'm doing a series of what I hope was humorous essays on a slice, kind of a slice of life type of thing, you know.
Well, you always were humorous. So are you putting them into a book, or you're just doing them? Tell me what you're doing. I'm going to let you talk.
All right. Well, I'm thinking that it's going to be in a book. I also had a series of humorous poems that I had written for the last few years, which I more or less decided would be a separate book. I had started a novel, and I was reading it to my writer colleagues, and they all looked at me and said, well, this might be interesting, but what happened to your humor? We miss your humor. So I went back to the humor. So I have things, a lot of things on the shelf.
Okay, so let's just talk about this. So let's say personally, you're still doing your accounting work.
Doing the taxes, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, in a different way with this new situation now.
You have it. How are you doing that, over Zoom or one of those other things?
Well, I do have Zoom, but I haven't really used that yet. No, it's a telephone, email. I'm doing my work remotely. People are they can send me pictures of their documents on the iPhone. I get the text attachments, I get the email attachments, I print them, and somehow it's getting done. Because I earlier, I guess it was last month, I decided not to go to Chicago. Good thinking, Leah.
Oh, so my God,
the clients I had there are working with me remotely. Okay,
so you're staying home a lot. So are you and your husband getting along with your being home so much?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We're learning how to really be compatible. That's one of the good things.
Yeah,
and the other
it's really important.
I've been calling my children every day.
What? I'm sorry.
I've been calling my children every day because they're in Chicago, so I'm a better mother.
Oh, my goodness. And how is everything in Chicago? Is it as bad? It's not as bad as New York.
I read in today's paper it's not so good.
Oh, my.
But my kids are okay, and they're pretty much staying home. So,
right.
But we talk, and, we all have to hope that we stay safe.
Exactly. All right, well, let's get back, though, to what you're doing. So you decided to put your novel up on the shelf for the moment, but
right.
You said when we first started that you were doing essays. And what are these humorous?
Yes. If they're not humorous, they go somewhere else. Just what people seem to enjoy, and I enjoy doing it. But I got to be honest, it's very hard to do humor when things are rough like they are now. I found it more difficult.
Of course, that was my next
eventually,
question.
An idea pops up and I come up with it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So before this happened, though, this is only the less than a month. So
right.
What were you doing then before this?
No, I was doing, I have a whole bunch of them. Things like how married couples get along at breakfast time, slices of life. Things.
Is that the name of your book, of your essays? That's a good name.
I wanted to call it The Happy Old Lady, but I'm changing. I keep changing my mind on what the title is.
But Slices of Life, I thought is very good. With a, have a kitchen knife on the cover with a piece of cheese or something, right?
No, I think I'm going to do is pick up the one that I think the piece that I think is memorable, and that'll be the title. So it'll be a title plus other essays, and I'm still working on it. And,
right. Well, in this period of time where would be very hard, I think, to be humorous, and yet there probably are humorous pieces to this, even though the whole thing is of course horrible. Probably people are doing funny things.
I just wrote a piece a couple days ago about how resistant I was to new technology. You mentioned Zoom, and my daughter called me up. This was several months ago before the illness started, and she said, "Mom, you got to do Zoom." And I said, "What's Zoom?"
Right.
So there's a whole piece about how she wanted me to do it and how I resisted it. And it's something I can do, even in today's situation. It's something that everyone could share. Sort of something that would be suitable for a blog if I really decided to do a blog.
Right, because we all have I think on our laptops we all have that camera, right? Isn't that what you need?
No, I'm doing it on my iPhone.
You're doing Zoom on your iPhone?
Yeah, she had me install an app on my iPhone.
I didn't know about that.
I have to learn more about it. So I have to be honest. I haven't, I installed the app, and I guess she got it to where we could have a so-called meeting of the two of us, and I haven't done anything since. Now, that was before the coronavirus took over our lives. But I know some of my colleagues are using it to have meetings, so that's about as much as I can tell you right now.
Right, and I've known about Zoom, but I hadn't used it. Someone told me it wasn't working very well, and I kind of dropped it. But I'm definitely going back to it now also because there are things that people are doing on Zoom, and can you imagine how wonderful for the people who invented Zoom now? They're really must be making a lot of money. I guess they make it from advertising. I think I saw a squib about it in the Wall Street Journal. Oh, really? What? They're very popular now. What, Zoom? Yeah. Yeah. And so I actually have a meeting coming up with a friend. We're going to try it ourselves because I do need to do this in my business, but so she and I are going to have kind of lunch over Zoom. That's what we talked about. Okay. So we'll see. We'll also see what it's like. But I've been there are a lot of webinars. They're just different than Zoom because Zoom you can really see everybody. I gather, and while you're having your meeting. That's correct. That's correct. When you at least the app I have on my phone. First, you get the icon, and then when you click on it, you get a sort of a basic drawing of a face with a torso, a part of a torso, and there are desk-like figures around the face, like a foursome.
and I was kind of making something funny out of that figuration they had.
Right. I'm sure this will be a very good one because it will be funny, and you can actually do it now, even though it has nothing to do with the virus.
Well, that's
so that's
correct.
What you're doing, huh?
And while we're talking, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I better get on this.
Right. No, I know. Well, you and I, of course, of the older generation, we have become very technical. We've had to, some more than others. I still struggle. Sometimes I can't even put an app on, but yet I do a lot of other things on my computer and on the iPhone. But there's still things that I struggle with, and I try to find someone who can help me. And of course, Rich, who is our the executive there running the board for the radio, he's very smart, and he helps me. And then I have my administrator, Dan. He's smart. He helps me. And then there are people who don't know how to do anything. So I'm glad that you and your family, though, are profiting for this in a way. I don't mean monetarily,
but you have to make lemons out. You have to make lemonade out of lemons.
Exactly.
If I didn't have people that would mention things that were helpful, and even a little bit of nagging helps, I don't know if I'd progress at all. I'd be stuck in my former technological world, which is next to nothing. So I make use of what people say. Eventually it sinks in, and I try stuff.
Let me tell everyone, if you've just tuned in, I hope you've been listening, but Leah Hope Becker is my guest, and she's been on my show for many years. What we've been doing is talking about her books. The last book she wrote was The Husband Who Kept His Wife Fat, and that was a very funny book. So I guess my first question is, you've really managed to stay as thin as you were with the book?
Maybe that's the wrong question to ask me this morning.
Why is that?
What we did yesterday, we're trying to... we've got food in the house, and we found out that here where we live, we can still get carry-out. So my husband carried out some pizza, and I ate pizza yesterday. And the scale said it doesn't actually talk, but I get on the scale, and it suggests to me don't eat pizza so much.
Yeah, right, but right, but
I'm talking about a pound or two this way or that. I'm not talking about major pounds.
Right. So you've been able to keep yourself thin in the sense.
Thin is not the word I use to describe my body. I'm pleasantly. What's a good word for pleasantly overweight? Think of it, Anita. I know you'll think of it.
No, you're just pleasantly plump. Are you plump?
Plump is a compliment.
Good. Well, then you're plump. I have to tell you, I don't know why, but I have definitely been losing weight. I mean, I'm careful, but I've just tried to eat more oatmeal, more eggs, more salad, more drinks. So I lost probably, since you've seen me, about at least 10 to, let's see, it could be at least 10 to 15 pounds.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. You lost how much recently?
About 10 to 15 pounds over the last 6 months, I suppose. But it's, so I know the same thing. Like if I make something at night, too much, pasta or something, then I see it's a pound the next morning. But then it goes off. As long as you have some control, that's important. But I wanted to go back to what you're saying about getting food takeout. When you take it, when you bring it in, what do you do with the bags and all that stuff? You're being very careful?
Yes, and my husband is extremely careful. And we got the pizza comes in the usual flat box.
Yeah.
And he said to me before he came back, it's a takeout place very close to our home. He says, open the garage. He calls me, open the garage door. And we have a little extra room inside our garage. He said, I'm going to put the box down, and I'm going to spray the surface of the box with Lysol.
Right.
Take out the pizza carefully. I mean, we've never done stuff like this before.
Of course.
So we're just being super careful now. And, it's here. And there are things we have to do, not just the washing of hands, but, I go into a store to buy a few groceries, and now I'm wearing the latex gloves and, staying away from other people as much as I can. So
what happens when I haven't been to the grocery store? I had enough food, and I've had a lot of cans of this and that, and so I've really been able to stay away. And I was curious, but when you go to the checkout, what happens then? Don't you have to?
Well, recently, the Target store that I've been shopping at have these taped arrows and indicators on the floor, so that if you're waiting in line, you stand a distance apart. Now, this was a couple days ago. Every day there's some kind of change. And, of course, there are shortages that continue. So we just go with it and do everything that we have to do to stay safe. The employees have their issues too, and they're being trained to act responsibly in this situation. But
well, I think that there's something funny you could write about, and that's toilet paper.
I'm sorry?
There's something funny you can write about. It's toilet paper.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, because even it's funny that I somehow, when this all started, had about 7 or 8 rolls, and so I didn't feel like I had to rush anywhere. But when you think about it, I don't know how we can talk about toilet paper because that's a funny issue. Mm-hmm. I would just pull the toilet paper off, and maybe 6, 7 little pieces, whatever. But now I pull it off. I take 1 or 2 and try to make that enough. If not, I'm careful. I take another 1 or 2, and I think what it's done, it's made us realize how how loose we've been with so many things. And I believe, in fact, I'm writing something about this in our April issue, that we are going to change back to the way people were when they had things rationed during the war and other things, to really look at who we've become.
Well, that's a very interesting thing. You're talking about when things were rationed.
Yes.
And Anita, with extreme compliments for how young you look, I think we both know what it was like in those years because we remember them.
Well, I don't as a child because we were both children. I don't remember that. My friend remembers. She was from England, and she does remember about what happened because, in England it was it was very hard for them. So
yeah, they had it rough.
Yeah. So
but I do remember the little squares on the windshield of a car, if you even had a car. I remember the little ration cards, and I think it was sugar and
butter, maybe,
and gas was rationed.
Oh, right.
But,
so we're it's interesting though, Leah, that we actually aren't having rationing per se. We just can't find things we want in the grocery store. So maybe that's rationing.
Well, I think there's hoarding involved, but I'll bet human nature. It's so obvious when you see what's going on in the stores. What do people do? What's your natural reaction? I think in my case, well, I want to have it, and yet I don't want to be a hog about it, but
right.
I still want to have it.
Yep.
I look at myself and I say, well, this is human nature, or it's my nature. I'm not ready to give up my little comforts yet, but I'm noticing how much I cling to these habits of, can't get rid of this, don't want to run out of that. So just wondering if this is happening a lot to people today.
Yeah, I'm sure people are rethinking. There was a fabulous article that I'm going to start to put in Boomer Times. I can't do all of them. It was too long. I'm going to do it probably month by month, or maybe do one and then put everything on the web. But it took about 32 experts to talk about the future now because of what we have learned and what we're going to do. And it's very, very educational, very intellectual. So you can look for it. You still get Boomer Times, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, I do. Thank you very much. And I read it, too.
Yeah. It's work hard on it. So this is a whole new world for us, Leah, and I am really glad that you made yourself available this morning. This is new for me to do this at home. It's quite comfortable. I mean, I used to always race into the show just like you did when you came from all the way up there, but it's just not safe to go there. This is a much better way to do this for the moment.
Well, we've had a few radio interviews before, and I'm glad we did because I can't see your face, but I'm picturing your picture in the Boomer Times. You always have your lovely portrait in there, and so I'm thinking of that when I'm talking.
Oh, you're very sweet.
This.
Well, the difference is that now they're patching me in as a caller and patching you in as a caller. That's not something they've been able to do before, but that's the new world, and that's what we're going to be doing until this thing, changes. And so anyway, it's been great. I'm really very anxious to see some of your essays. So you may send me one over the email.
I'm going to pick out a couple I've done that I'm really happy with, and I'll send
why
them
don't
to
you do that? I would love to see it, and I've had such fond memories of you and our talks and all the books that you wrote. You wrote so many. Do you have your library there? Are you still going to your writers group? Well, not going there now.
They're not meeting right now. The last time I was there, I think it was 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And then there was one where I had conflict because I am still doing tax work, and it comes in spurts. And I have to prioritize that. Even though they delayed the filing dates, there are people that have refunds coming, and they want their money. So I'm here working.
Right.
Okay, Anita, well, it's so wonderful.
There it is. Yeah, I hear it. Okay, thank you, Leah, and we'll talk. Just send me those things, okay?
I will, Anita. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome.
Safe.
Take care of yourselves.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.